we're going to start with stepping our feet down into the ground. מה זה stepping? Let's lean onto the ground. Lean onto the ground with our whole foot. So, I don't know if you can see, but just as we're leaning onto the ground, we want to reach a point where the whole foot is leaning against the ground. And that creates kind of a little movement from within our foot, but we want to lean. So it's not an too active motion. We're just trying to step with our heels, with our toes, with our sides, with our insides, just leaning deeper, further into the ground. And through our feet, we're trying to lean with our ankles onto our heels, and leaning with our ankles onto our toes. And we're looking for the left foot and the right foot simultaneously, yeah. Leaning deeper with the underneath of our foot and our toes and our heels and our sides. And with our knees, we're leaning onto our ankles, heels, toes. So let's stay up to our knees into that leaning mode into the ground. And Rega, let's use our eyes to kind of tuck in all those parts in our feet. So Mamash, use your eyes to tuck in each toe. Use your eyes to tuck in the sides and from behind. So while we're tucking, leaning with our feet down into the ground, up at the top, we're adding extra movement in our jaws, through our eyes, in our necks, through our eyes. And we can skip Rega from our knees up into our vertebrae, tucking in, leaning down into the ground. Find your chin, how it can assist. Leaning in with our chin and our jaws and our ears into our necks. Leaning into the ground. And in between our head, neck, feet, find the breath. Find a breath that now will take us into an expansion sensation in our chest. And find ways to lean in through our chest onto our knees and onto our ankles, onto our heels and toes and our feet. And the sensation that we're going in on with, the sensation we're going with is finding that tremor within our body, through our breath, expanding our chest, our sternum, our ribs, maybe into our armpits, into our shoulders, in between the shoulder blades and the ribs. And we can use our eyes for tucking in all those parts down onto our feet, onto our ankles and our knees. And that tremory sensation is just spreading in our body, creating space in between our joints as we're leaning onto the ground, into the ground. Finding maybe more space in the inside of our stomach area, spreading out the vertebrae in between our ribs, the vertebrae in our lower backs, in the midsection, in our solar plexus, spreading out into our elbows, allowing the tremor to be delicate, soft, kind of waking up towards a shake. But it's somewhere in between a tremor and a shake. Spreading out into our pelvis, out into our tailbone and our pubis, into our groins, and finding the resting point of our breath and the tremor. So we're just being very delicate and tender with the different joints and areas. And let's take our eyes and gaze into our horizon, allowing the horizon to be all around us. And we can use our fingers to demonstrate that delicacy, that articulate tremor. Going every now and then back to our feet, spreading out on the ground, into the ground, into our ankles and our knees, into our sitting bones, tailbone. Trying to take from the ground the strength and the leaning sensation to go up through our body, through our chest and our armpits and our shoulders, up into our neck, up into our jaws and our ears, into our eyes, into the top of the head, up onto the ceiling and the sky, so we can lean better into the tremor, softening it, משכללות, bettering it, bettering the tremor so it's even more delicate. Making more space. We're just soft and expanded. And we can find our arms in a floaty sensation, tremoring in our elbows and our wrists and our palms and our fingers into our armpits and shoulders, from our feet into our ankles and knees, up into our pelvis, finding the tremor in our stomach, in our chest, in our lungs, in our hearts, in our liver, up into our esophagus, into our jaws, into our neck, into the back of our heads. Maybe we can find areas in our skull from within our ears and our jaws. We can use our tongue. We can even make that little sound where our tongue hits against the palate. We can do it softly on a tremory level the whole time. Up against our teeth. Just still grounded, rooted by now, deep into the ground. So I can again take from the ground, leaning in onto the ground, tremoring from our groins, from our sitting bones, from our tailbones, and our pubis. And we're soft. And there's a floaty sensation with that grounding, rooting from beneath, further up into the sky, with our fingers, feeling very comfortable, even rested to a certain point. Like each joint or each bone in between our joints can just find a resting point, heart point on a floaty matzah. So I can take each vertebra and rest it on my feet, and rest it into the ground, and rest it into the roots, while it floats upwards, further, higher, expanded, sideways, frontways, backways. Allowing our eyes take it further, again into that horizon surrounding us. 360 degrees using our whole leaning position to take it further away, expanding further. Kind of combining our tremor with what we can only imagine the particles around us. Maybe even separating ourselves from our unit. Becoming these particles without definition in it. Finding the ground, finding the sky, splitting ourselves into our many molecules, each one tremoring on its own, allowing it to just go out and dance as I'm going to bring in the song. Just each molecule finding its groove in the space around us without a definition, leaning, floating, smiling at those ideas. Again, we can use the sound with our tongue against our teeth. And let's go with the song. let yourselves spread out. Mamash. Find all particles around us. And let's start separating it back from spread out back into us, collecting, grounding, getting back to our feet, all spread out, our tailbone, our pubis, our pelvis, our chest, owning it back as one. And let the tremor kind of settle down into a place where just all our parts are together. Our feet are grounded. Mine are practically attached to the ground by now. And I'm just going to stand my ground. Leaning in. Smiling out. Starting a new week. Soft, clear,